What's good, everyone? I hope we're all doing well. I'm making this video to make my case, the bull case, about why the market will rally in the next coming months. I don't care about fundamentals, even though I know midterms are coming up, but I'm just going to look at this from a complete algorithmic perspective. Okay, I believe, if people don't already know, that the market distributes along a fractal. And basically, if you guys are unfamiliar with how this essentially operates, is that you have, let's say that, for example, an X that's made up of X's, right? Right, so it's like a pattern within itself to create the pattern. And then this connects to be an X, but the X is composed of X's. And those X's are composed of X's as well. And it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller, to where at one point you just have to ask yourself, what's the fractal pattern here? Okay, now I know that I've talked to people, I know that there's debate centered around really what this fractal could be, but from my own individual perspective, I think that the SPY operates on a W, and that this pullback here is seen basically every time, right? So you have this straight across pattern. Actually, let me be more specific, right? So you have a W kind of like this, and then this pullback here is the decision, right? If the market wants to go up, or if it wants to go up, it'll push up here, and if it wants to go down, it'll go down here. And I'm going to show you a couple cases where this is seen. And I think that on the macro, if you haven't already seen it, or if you aren't already seeing it, I think that we're playing this out, and we have yet to make the third top. So really exciting stuff. Let's see, today we'll see it playing out. Okay, so you should be able to draw a line straight across and get the triple top. Okay, so forgive me if I'm a little slow with my mouse, but so we should just roughly, right, roughly speaking, and then like I said before, it kind of goes like this, where the second dips lower, or the second markdown dips lower. So basically we have this, and then it dips down lower, and luckily we got that in a pre-market move, so we didn't have to go through it on actual market hours. So if you bought calls here, you kind of got lucky, but then again, today's kind of brutal. But anyway, so what we're seeing here is we have the push down, and then we have the pullback, and we can see that the decision originally, actually this movement right here is the pullback, and then here is the test. And we can see that we went down today. Probably, I mean, GDP was bad. I mean, it's interesting because I'm under the belief that news doesn't decide for the fractal. It's already baked in. The news merely accelerates it. So this was already predetermined, whether the GDP report was bad or not. There is no multiple universes where this possibly goes up. It was always going to go down. That's my opinion. Okay, we can think differently, that's fine. But we have this push down, right? So we got the move. This is the move. This is it. Now, the reason I say that relates to the macro case. Okay, now I need to keep these lines here because they are very small gaps that I plotted a while ago, and they're still there. Interestingly enough, they're basically at the top of 421, which is, or April 21st, is where we saw that ginormous move down. And I remember this area being very, very tricky for option traders, especially this one too. I remember I got stopped out here on this push up. I bought puts, and I was like, oh my god, are we going up? Okay. And I bought calls because I was an amateur, and then the next day, minus 3%, I lost it. I got double whammied. But these two sections here were very tricky, and I think there's a reason for that. On the one hand, you have this small gap at 444, and on the other hand, you have the beginning of a macro W fractal starting here. Okay, so let's look at this. Let's put the pattern back. And actually, you know what? Before we even evaluate this section, this current section, let's look at the recent section. Okay. I actually haven't done this, but I think for the sake, it's really important. Okay, so here we go. So we're looking for a triple top. Now, the debate or where subjectivity comes into play is this area right here. I don't count this as 3 touch points, but I'm almost positive if I were to zoom into this on a micro time frame, you would get a W, right? Because this could be the start of the W, and then you could have like W action in here somewhere on a very small scale, and then this is the push up, and this is the decision factor, and it goes down. But that's the thing, right? A fractal is the same pattern within itself, right? So on this, here's what I think we're dealing with here. So before, okay, we draw a straight line across. So see real quick. Give me a second. Okay. So the beginning, Jesus. The beginning was here. Okay, and then we got the one bottom, and then the second top is here, right? So we have 2 touches, and then we make the third, or we make the low. So basically, the pattern before, just to keep it up, was like this, and then this was the decision. So we got the 2 lows, and then we have 2 tops, and now we're expecting from this bottom, we're expecting a rally, and we got it at the beginning. You could figure this, and if I want this video to be an hour long, I could go back and I could look and find all the W's in this area. I'm not going to do that, but I would suggest that for those who are interested to look at this and find this fractal in the history. So let's go and look at currently, and I'm sure that you're probably putting it together. Okay. So right. So it's my belief that we started, well, let's see. We started here, but, and like the thing is I want to convince people that this is fact, but I understand that I'm just a random guy on the internet. Never heard of me in your entire life, probably will never hear me again. And I'm spitting this crazy stuff like it's real. I think I didn't know back then, but I looked into it and I think that it speaks that it's valid, right? Okay. So the thing is that you might look at this and go, well, then how do you predict this right here, right? Well, how do you know that it's going to break down here? Because on the one hand, back in history, you could have said that this was 1 and then this was 2 and that this is it. You could say that this is the W pattern, right? But from a weekly perspective, right? Zoom out even more. I don't think so. I think that this move here was a fractal within itself, where the beginning was actually started from the markdown, and that you could have predicted like this move up here with from the move from 360 to 423 was essentially the same movement as we got here from when we saw 411 to 456 or 458. And then you could say, well, that's kind of messed up because we can see that if it keeps following along, it goes lower and lower and lower. And here's the crazy thing. I think we're missing a W that we have to consider. Okay, so we can find that this move to the top here was a W within itself completing out. Well, now we're still completing one, and it's much larger. Okay, this bottom here is 1. And what we saw today, 360.59, is a new low according to the fractal. Okay, this is a new low. So you can almost be extremely precise. Right, this is one bottom, and then this is the other one. It's a double bottom. It's a heavy demand zone, right? But it's just below so that the fractal can satisfy itself. And it can say, okay, we've fulfilled the goal. We can make the move up. All right. So we have one here. We have the start point here. And then we have the second here. So we're expecting, we've already completed, right? Going back to what the original fractal is. Right? So we have 2 tops, and then the second bottom is lower than the first. And now we're coming up to make a decision. And that decision is obviously a crash. Like, come on. You're not living, like, we're not living under rocks here. So, the point, the interesting part is where the high is. Because if the powers that be that push this up, push it up to where it's supposed to go, which is a triple top at the 423 area, everyone knows. Everyone is not dumb. They're going to go in puts there. So why? Right? So just to clarify, we're expecting a run up to complete the triple top for the W, right? So why would they stop it here? Right? The scary thing is that there are a couple of cases here. Okay, we could get the triple top here, pull back for the decision, and then at the decision mark, you make your bet, right? And a lot of people, I would guess, would go bearish, right? The market would die after that decision. Don't pay attention to the time frame. This is just for the sake of example, right? I don't think it's going to crash by December, nor do I think it's going to top by November. So if the decision, when it pulls back, when it's ready for the decision, there's a couple of cases, and that is that there is a small frame or a 1 minute gap at the 444.81 and 437.88. These are the only 1 minutes left that are above. There's a 4-hour gap. There is a 4-hour gap at 464.24, right? That holds some value as well, okay? But it would be too surreal. I don't know if they would do that. There would have to be some person would have to be responsible for that move, because that is an insane trap. But let's just say that that it's bullish here. So the decision is bullish. That would, in my opinion, lead up to fill the 444.81 gap. The 437 would just would create the bottom of the range, and then this would be the range that it would trade in, or that it would have to get through. Basically, it's like a supply zone, in my opinion, that is created through 1 minute gaps. So, another question is, could you say that the 456 top over here is only one top, and that the beginning started with 441.81 or 437, whatever, right? Because technically, I don't know if you want to go that far, but you could make that case if you were crazy enough. I'm not so sure I agree with that, but that would basically mean we do this, and then it digs down, and then it creates a new low, and then it digs up again, and then it triple tops, and then it just absolutely tanks. I don't know if that's even, like, that would be insane. Or yeah, if you want to be even crazier, that this is one, and so then you'd have to do something like this. um, right? You have to do something like that. Maybe this is after the recession. But that's something to think about, right? So regardless, we are following a fractal sector of the W on a mm, intermediate macro time frame, I would say. Like, we have two touches right here, right? And so we have two lows. So we're expecting a rise to 423. I can almost say it's guaranteed, how much I believe in my analysis. After this, when it makes the decision, where it goes from there, who knows? There's two cases. It becomes a 50-50 at that point. What I'm telling you now is that this run is not a 50-50. This is guaranteed. I have calls for other equities. I'm not playing SPY right now. I'm playing calls and other equities, and then I'm going to take that profit and I'm going to bet on the downside. However, there's a couple of things as well to think about. This W that we saw up here, yes, this is my other point. This is another thing to consider that I think also holds as much weight as the push up to 444 after the decision pullback. So it starts here. We have 1, 2. Now you notice how the third top went slightly above the beginning, right? So that's interesting to me. It went slightly above. And what is a possible target slightly above 423? Well, I'm not sure if it's slightly above. Or 430. It's only a 3% move. From the top of our recent top is a 3.43% move to fill the 1 minute gap. That is a perfect day to trap people, right? So you could get a day like this where it let me see real quick. You could absolutely get a day like this where it goes up all the way. It doesn't even decide. It just goes up, right? Of course, there's like zigzag up until this move, right? It doesn't. It just goes, right? And then this is the pullback, and then this is the decision. It's much larger because it sacrificed its core mechanic to make that extra push, right? And so because of that, the push down for the pullback is larger. And this is your decision, in which case, obviously, I mean, it's just hell, right? So that's just what I'm looking at, okay? SPY is going up. Everything is going to push up. I mean, Bitcoin is going to go up as well. I mean, look where it's sitting. How crazy of a trap would this be? I don't know Bitcoin's fractal. I haven't really looked into it that much, but if SPY is going to go up, I'm going to assume everything's going to go up. I mean, the indices in general. If the indices in general go up, then equities are going to go up. So, I mean, for meme stock lovers, that means AMC, GameStop, right? It's going to be crazy. I'm in calls, so maybe I have a bias, but I wouldn't have got into them if the fractal didn't say it. So that's just what I'm saying. I think we're seeing a bottom here. I think it's about to get crazy. I think bears are going to probably be depressed for the next few months, and it's going to be painful. I can't believe that they're doing this. I can't believe how brutal this is. Bear markets, I guess, are notorious for this, but that's how I see it, man. That's how I see it. Every single move down was predicted with W's, right? I mean, we see it here. W, decision day right here. It was bullish. It went up. CPI report. The pullback. I mean, the thing is, so like here, for example, it was bullish. But eventually, the tricky part is knowing where the top is after the decision is bullish, right? So pullback right here on this really long candle, right? And then it went up, so then it was bullish. Now, if it were to go down right here before the CPI report, if it were to go down before, then you could kind of guess that the CPI was going to be good. But regardless, this was a trap from the beginning. And you knew that this was because if you zoomed out on the larger scale, you knew that this was, in hindsight's 2020, but you knew that this was a double top, and we need 3. And you knew that, and you would also assume that this is one bottom, right? So from the get-go, you could get it. But every day, looking at the market is a learning experience, and approaching the market from a fractal perspective and focusing strictly on the algorithm will teach you so much about price action. I think that, I'll say it again, I don't think news is the decision maker. I think that news accelerates the decision. But the decision is made before the news comes out. And I don't know how to prove that, but that's just a belief that I'm willing to keep. And I'm always willing to agree to disagree, but I'm an individual, so that is what it is, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, found something useful out of it. I hope everyone the best of luck, and until next time, peace out.